No.
How would that happen?
I don't know, it's a new machine. It's something.
It is not letting me vote for who I want to vote for. No.
How would that happen?
I don't know, it's a new machine. It's something.
It is not letting me vote for who I want to vote for.
General McInerney, thank you for joining us on War and Pandemic. You've got some breaking news we got to talk about. It's one of the reasons we have Sidney Powell over here today. Something very disturbing. There's been a site called the American Report. It's got a woman named Mary Fanning's done some incredible reporting, particularly about a guy named Dennis Montgomery. What is it, this thing that's going around about this project or this system called Hammer? Explain to our audience what this is and why it should be of such concern to people in this current situation that we're in.
Yes, I will, Steve. The fact is that Hammer is what we call a SIGINT, a Signals Intelligence Program, that the NSA came up with years ago. The CIA picked it up under the Obama administration, and I broke it in March of 2017 about what they were doing on the Russian hoax. But the fact is, the Obama administration took this system and they put in an application in this SIGINT program called Scorecard. And Scorecard changes votes at a certain point in the voting stream. And if I can, and by the way, the Obama administration used it in the 2012 election in Florida. So both Obama and Biden are very familiar with it. Now, I've got to make a quote here.
Yeah.
And it's important that we all understand. It's by Joseph Stalin. I consider it completely unimportant who in the party will vote or how. But what is extraordinarily important is this: who will count the votes? That's
Your chairperson can issue him what type of ballot? A provisional envelope. Why? Where is it going? Not in the tabulator. It's going in that envelope, right? We have how many days? 6. So what is the Department of Elections going to do with it? Destroy it.
Biden ballots landing in Arizona last night. Unbelievable footage that we have for you right here. We were lucky enough to have a man on the ground filming. And as you can see, this is a plane load of mail-in ballots landing in Arizona last night. So they got a lot of counting to do. As you can see here, this is a jumbo jet. They've got 5 million mail-in ballots for Biden loaded up on that C5. And so here you go. It's going right to the polling place. There it goes, Maricopa County. They've just discovered another million mail-in ballots for Joe. But that's not it. We have footage from Georgia. This is early last night. Here's footage from Georgia. Another plane load. Look at this. Mail-in ballots arriving in Georgia. It's unbelievable. As you can see here, the plane load of mail-in ballots landing in Fulton County last night, magically all for Biden. Thank God we were able to get that plane. We also have footage, guys. Can we go to Pennsylvania? This is in Pennsylvania. We have similar footage. As you can see here, they had to go right to the polling place, landing nearly on top of cars on the road. That's how desperate they were to get these ballots to Philadelphia County right there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, while you were sleeping, Biden won another state. Isn't that magic? Yeah, my analogy in the first segment with the basketball team wasn't even enough. It's not just that they have 12 players on the floor. They've also got 30 basketballs that they're scoring with. Welcome to the Alex Jones Show here on this Friday, November 6th.
Challengers and poll watchers. They have to wear a mask and they have to stay 6 feet. That's important because they can come behind your table. But if you don't have 6 feet, they can't come back there. Any questions?
60 back, like a really good vision. Big neck, please.
Exactly. They got really good vision. Right? But they binoculars. 6 feet. That's the rule, right? You are entitled to your 6 feet.
Is that common? Make we expect that.
Yep, there's a coming. They come. I don't know if they're coming to every precinct, but they're coming to many of them in the city. Yes, we have already gotten word. The state has already said they're coming. And the basic thing they're going to challenge is what? Absentee ballot. That is correct.
What if they're like challenging and they start yelling and kind of making us?
911. They got standards. They got conduct standards. They make the scene, give them a bite of it. The police are.
60 back, like a really good vision. Big neck, please.
Exactly. They got really, what they can not do. They make the scene, give them a bite of it. The police are. They got standards. They got conduct standards. They make the scene, give them a bite of it. The police are.
All the Republican challengers out of this room.
can come behind your table. But if you don't have 6 feet, they can't come back there. Any questions?
I would up there
Already got word, the state has already said they're coming. And the basic thing they're going to challenge is what? Absentee ballot. That is correct.
What if they're like challenging when they start yelling?
I don't only need you to get me elected, I need you once I'm elected. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. I don't only need you to get me elected, I need you once I'm elected. I don't only need you to get me elected, I need you once I'm elected.
Steve, we have a desperate Democratic Party that will do anything to bring the country to a totalitarian state and as far left as they want. They used it in the primaries, and Bernie lost to Biden because they used it in the primaries. So it is ready to go. I just found out about this yesterday. Sydney has played a very important role in assisting me and Mary Fanning and Alan Jones and trying to get the word out so the American people know all this enthusiasm you're talking about in Pennsylvania gets changed very quickly with this software program that switches 3% of the votes. That's
okay. Hang on a second.
Pennsylvania gets changed very quickly with this software program that switches 3% of the votes. That's
hang on a second. Hang on a second. General McInerney, I want you to give just quickly your bona fides. Talk just briefly. Give me a minute for the audience on your career.
Okay, 35 years in the Air Force. I ended up the number 3 man in the Air Force in the headquarters. I had 4 tours in Vietnam. I commanded the raid on Tripoli in 1986. We attacked Tripoli from my headquarters in England. I was then the Vice Commander-in-Chief of U.S. Air Force of Europe, and then the commander of Alaskan Command and Alaska NORAD region. So I had a very extensive operational career, and I'm in the cloud business now, and that's why I'm so intimately familiar with what Hammer and Scorecard can do, and nobody knows it. Nobody knows.
Okay, now also you're
now, and that's why I'm so intimately familiar with what Hammer and Scorecard can do, and nobody knows it. Nobody knows.
Okay, now also you're one of the most revered officers in the U.S. Air Force, an unbelievable career. I want to go to Hammer. Hammer was the single most important and the single most sophisticated, basically, system that came up after 9/11 for really intelligence or counterintelligence about radical Islamic Jihad and the ability to monitor that. Is that how the beginning of this started? Was a foreign surveillance system that allowed the national security and intelligence apparatus to watch our enemies. Is that how this thing started?
That's how it started, Steve. Very sophisticated, very, very capable. And the fact is,
Hammer
it was then adopted with the software packages like on your iPhone to the voting business. And it was to be used, and it was used in foreign countries. And so it was then moved over into the CIA, and they started looking at U.S. citizens. That is illegal. The CIA cannot look at U.S. citizens, and only the FBI started looking at U.S. citizens used, and it was used in foreign countries. And so it was then moved over into the CIA, and they started looking at U.S. citizens. That is illegal. The CIA cannot look at U.S. citizens, and only the FBI with the proper FISA warrants, etc. Sydney knows all about this. You know all about this. And it is extremely important that this was taken out of the CIA when the Obama administration left. They used some kabuki to get it out. They still have it up and running. We know where it is located. We know it's active tonight. It's active. They've been looking at a whole host of things, as has the DNC, using false IPs. And they are looking around, and they're trying to set up this voting thing that happens on Tuesday night. It's going to look good for President Trump, but they're going to change. And that's the danger that America and everybody must realize.
I just want to mention, we got about 2 minutes here. In the next segment, Sydney and I are going to drill down on this a little bit more, and we're going to talk about some polling other things, but hopefully get you back before the end. Dennis Montgomery. The last time the audience heard about Dennis Montgomery, he was being rounded up at his house. He had 47 hard drives, I think he had taken from Fort Meade. How does Dennis Montgomery fit into this story?
He's a genius, and he loves America. Dennis invented him. Dennis invented Scorecard. He's the programmer that made all this happen, and he's on our side. And at great personal risk, as well as he hasn't benefited financially from it. He is an absolute genius. And so he's extremely important to what's going on. It would have happened in 2016, Steve, except something happened to it that night when the Obama crowd and the Democrats tried to use it. I can't talk about that.
Walk us through what has taken place here as you see it.
Yes, there has been a massive and coordinated effort to steal this election from we, the people of the United States of America, to delegitimize and destroy votes for Donald Trump, to manufacture votes for Joe Biden. They have done it in every way imaginable, from having dead people vote in massive numbers to absolutely fraudulently creating ballots that exist only voting for Biden. We've identified at least 450,000 ballots in the key states that miraculously only have a mark for Joe Biden on them and no other candidate. If you look at Florida, where things were done
Biden
right, you
ballots.
can see that that's how the rest of the country should have gone. But they also used an algorithm to calculate the votes they would need to flip, and they used the computers to flip those votes from from Trump to Biden, and from other Republican candidates to their competitors also. I think Doug Collins had the race stolen from him. I think John James had his race stolen from him. It wasn't just President Trump. There were many people affected by this. We have got to fight tooth and nail in federal court to expose this abject fraud and the conspiracy behind it. and get a recount and audits in every place it's needed, which is frankly most of the country.
So there are recounts going on right now. We know that in Georgia, you have a list of numbers of ballots with only Joe Biden on the ticket. You say it's 98,000 ballots in Pennsylvania, 80 to 90,000 in Georgia, another 42,000 in Arizona, 69 to 115,000 in Michigan, and 62,000 in Wisconsin. Sidney, if this is true, this appears systemic. Where is the Department of Justice? Where is the AG Bill Barr? If this is so obvious, then why aren't we seeing massive government investigations?
I don't know. We definitely should be. I mean, we're getting reports of all kinds of fraud. We've got getting an affidavit from a postal worker now who talks about having been ordered to backdate ballots. No ballots received after the polls closed on voting day should even be counted. We've got multiple states
Footage
that
from
didn't
Georgia.
even follow the rules of their own legislature. That's a federal constitutional issue. There are at least 3 major federal issues here that will require the Supreme Court to resolve this case. And when the votes are really audited and the real votes are counted, Trump will win. He is the president, and he is in charge of this country.
We talked about the Dominion software. I know that there were voting irregularities. Tell me about that.
That's to put it mildly. The computer glitches could not and should not have happened at all. That is where the fraud took place, where they were flipping votes in the computer system or adding votes that did not exist. We need an audit of all of the computer systems that played any role in this fraud whatsoever. And, you know, Joe Biden had it right. He said that he had the biggest voter fraud organization ever, and he didn't need people's votes now. He would need people later. They had this all planned, Maria. They had the algorithms. They had the paper ballots waiting to be inserted if and when needed. And notably, President Trump's vote in the blue states went up enormously. That's when they had to stop the vote count and go in and replace votes for Biden and take away Trump votes.
I've never seen voting machines stop in the middle of an election, stop down and assess the situation. I also see reports that Nancy Pelosi's longtime chief of staff is a key executive at that company. Richard Blum, Senator Feinstein's husband, significant shareholder of the company. What can you tell us about the interest on the other side of this Dominion software?
Well, obviously, they have invested in it for their own reasons and are using it to commit this fraud to steal votes. I think they've even stolen them from other Democrats in their own party who should be outraged about this also. Bernie Sanders might very well have been the Democratic candidate, but they've stolen against whoever they wanted to steal it from.
Walk us through what has taken.
More about this also, and are using it to commit this fraud to steal votes. I think they've even stolen them from other Democrats in their own party who should be outraged about this also.
Dennis Montgomery is like the character Nash in Beautiful Mind. I mean, this is one of the smartest programmers ever. He wrote this incredibly sophisticated program. And that's why this event in August of 2015, when he was basically gathered up, and it had the 47 hard drives. Heck, we got one hard drive from Hunter, and we're still going through information. He did this, as we now know, he did this to essentially save his country and expose what's going on. What was he trying to expose? And what should the American people know today on the eve of this election that 250 flag officers sent a letter to President Trump, said it's the most important, including my old boss, Tom Hayward, who said it's the most important election in the history of the Republic. What is Montgomery trying to tell us? What is the message we need to hear today?
Well, he's telling us right now, Steve, that we are on the verge of being compromised through cyber warfare, of which he is a master of, the most brilliant person in our country on cyber warfare. And they have used this. They moved it from the intelligence, a very highly secure program, and they've moved it from there over to political treachery. And that's what it is. When they moved it out of the CIA, they moved it to their political use as they have politicized the intelligence community, as we saw in the Russian hoax, and what they've done to General Flynn. All these things are on this force that you and Sydney have been talking about that want to change America from what it is. It goes back to the Electoral College, to the Supreme Court. All these things are bundled to change America from being a democratic republic to a totalitarian regime. That means a socialist country, which the next step is communism. And that's why there can be no agreement between this Democratic Party and the Republican Party. One choice is freedom, one choice is communism. It's that simple.
You going to be able to stop Hammer and Scorecard?
We intend to stop Hammer and Scorecard.
Sidney Powell says that it's take that to the bank. Okay, future FBI director.
Many presidential. I am an adult human male in his 30s who has witnessed many presidential elections, and I can't for the life of me figure out what it is the Democrats are actually doing, because I will tell you this, they're certainly not trying to win. I'm not exaggerating. They're literally not campaigning. Okay, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but they're seriously doing almost nothing. Republicans are registering more voters. Trump campaign knocks on 1 million doors a week. Biden's knocks on 0? What is this?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brett Keane from God TV Radio. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. It's pretty obvious why the Democrats are not putting any effort into trying to win. They have the liberal media on their side. They have all of the social media sites on their side. Just recently over on, let me show you guys something you might find interesting. Apparently people who work for Twitter, as well as people who are friends with the company Twitter, confirmed Twitter official who announced Trump campaign account suspension as former Kamala Harris press secretary. Facebook just recently censored Donald Trump. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious why they're not even putting any effort. One of the reasons why I've always thought that the system is broken, that there's something wrong, is the entire idea of being a Republican and conservative is to be able to save the money of Americans, as well as be able to hold on to conservative traditions and a few other things. But Democrats, the entire idea is to gain more power, to make government bigger, to reach out. So every time the Democrats get into office, they can tank the system, they can destroy society, they can put the government into more and more businesses and organizations, mostly corporations. And what do you think is going to happen whenever it comes time around for another vote or another politician between Republicans and Democrats? If you're someone who's extremely rich and you can buy anything that you want, hell, you can even buy the people who are running these voting systems and shit, then you pretty much got the fucking money in the bag. And we've been seeing over and over that there's quite a few different states out there that have been in trouble for fraud and fucking around with the mailing system as well as voting system. So yeah, Biden could actually win the presidency, have dementia, have fucking syphilis of the brain, sit on his ass in his basement playing World of Warcraft all fucking day, absolutely do nothing, and still manage to beat his opponent no matter how popular the person is. Why are they making no effort? They don't have to. They already have it in the bag. People from all over the planet are starting to realize that their vote never mattered. Nothing ever mattered. These people are going to fucking take and take and take whatever they want. You have to ask yourself this, ladies and gentlemen, before I end this video. How is it possible that someone like Biden could even last a month in a race against Donald Trump if it wasn't rigged? Imagine this. If somebody like Joe Biden were to try to get a job, let's say, in any kind of employment, anybody with a fucking rational, logical mind would know that this guy can't even string sentences together. He's not even able to have a conversation or have an interview without totally fucking botching the whole deal. The guy is not well, but it doesn't matter because people are starting to realize, I think, that we're not going, it's not Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. It's Joe Biden with a bunch of power-hungry assholes behind him like George Soros. And these Democrats who just simply want a weekend at Bernie's corpse sitting in the chair while they make up all the decisions. And of course, if the fucking idiot dies, then some other asshole that we definitely didn't want is going to be right in their place. That's the brokenness of the system, ladies and gentlemen. That's the brokenness. So I hope that people out there, you don't underestimate this. I hope that you're not watching the news or watching all these people parading around with the American flag with "We support Trump" and think that that's going to be enough, because it's not. These fuckers had their dirty ass gremlin hands and everything. Well, that's all I got to say, folks. What's your opinion? God bless.